Procrastination is the wisdom not to force anything you're not vibrationally ready for. Let me say that again. Procrastination is the wisdom not to force anything you're not ready for. Procrastination is wisdom. So this is an Esther Hicks Abraham quote, the spiritual teachers. I love this sentiment. The hustle culture does not. So in reflecting on my work habits recently, I realized that I've just been in a rush, launching a course, putting a course offer out there. There have been many moments where I had to check in with myself and say, am I doing the right course offer? Does this feel right? And if I'm really honest with myself, it didn't quite feel right. And yet I still push forward. It's really falling back into that hustle mode vibe that served me fairly well. I mean, being gainfully employed for many years, working in the tech startup world, working in media, working in courses, working with really amazing people. You can't just not do anything. However, let's face it, rushing does not feel good at all. And rushing does not work. When you rush, you're just in this state of anxiety, of stress, of not feeling at all like your best self. And how can your best work come out of this rush mode? And it's really interesting. When procrastination comes up, I really feel like it's an interesting thing to pause and reflect, pause and recalibrate, because you want the thing, whatever the thing is that you want to go after. For me, it was a course, but it just wasn't quite right. And it's so funny. I would always override procrastination in my 20s and just get it done. And overriding procrastination in my last full-time job, the end result was getting laid off anyway. So kind of going against my natural rhythm didn't quite work out in the end. It's also really interesting to think about how nature is not in a rush. You can't yell at a flower to make it grow faster. And as I'm now 6 months pregnant, I'm recording this standing up. She's up, she's down all day. The standing desk is back, baby. I really don't want to rush that. You know what I'm saying? Take your time, baby, until at least mid-May. And I want to share with you something interesting about an experience about my procrastination, the wisdom in procrastination. So over the years, I've really wanted to make a podcast. I've made a couple podcasts in the past that were awesome. They served their mission at the time. And in recent years, I've really wanted to create a new podcast talking about online courses, building a course-based business, really just creating an awesome life, but having courses kind of be the foundation of freedom, finances, flexibility, and just how people are doing it. So when I got laid off, I thought, perfect, I'm laid off. I have all the time in the world. Time to podcast. And so I recorded quite a few, I think 6 or so, just solo episodes. Because one of my values in life is also transparency. And I love listening to solo episodes from people who are just sharing what's going on in their life, people that I really admire, people I find interesting. It's like, tell me what's going on with you. Sometimes I don't always want to listen to an interview. It's like, I'm curious about the person. And so I just thought it'd be fun to share some of my stories because people were asking about, how are you dealing after getting laid off and what's next and all those kind of things. So I recorded like 6 episodes. And then I started to get morning sick. So after I recorded these episodes, I started to get really sick, fell off my game of recording weekly episodes. I was aiming to get a few recorded before launching and kind of left it for a little while. And then at the start of this new year, I was like, hey, I'm feeling good. She's back, baby. Let's go re-listen to those episodes, see if they're still good, still relevant. Couldn't find them for the life of me. They were gone. Okay. I don't know if I accidentally deleted them. I don't know if I didn't save them. I switched laptops at one point, and I'm actually wondering if maybe I had them saved on one laptop, but not the other, which is interesting for me because usually I put it in the cloud, put it in the Google Drive, Dropbox kind of gal. So the fact that they were gone, I was like, this kind of sucks because that was a lot of time, a lot of content. Okay. But if I really reflect on it, they weren't that great. I think there was one episode where I talked a lot about how I was leaning heavily on White Claw. It kept me through the tough times. White Claw, the alcoholic beverage, who is not a sponsor of this podcast. And I don't think they will be. But what's so funny, I have one can of White Claw that's still in a mini fridge in my basement from that time as a reminder of unhealthy coping mechanisms. But do we really need a podcast about that? I do think there was some really good, emotional journey kind of stuff that comes up when you first get laid off that I could not recreate now because I'm healed from that moment. But it's all good. The procrastination is the wisdom that, hey, maybe I didn't need those episodes out there into the world. So here I am now. You're listening to this podcast and it's coming out. As I'm recording this, it's not out yet. And I am so excited to align with the right date, the right time to just release it. I really have to walk the message of this podcast, which is procrastination is wisdom. Do not force it. Do not put it out there just because. Just enjoy the blossoming of it. It's a flower. It will blossom in good time. It will come out and it will either become a oak tree or it will be a perennial flower. I don't know, but we're trying it. So, and it's also really interesting too, the fact that I got married and trying to name a podcast is hard. And I know from podcasts I've had in the past, I changed the name. I started with a cute and clever name and then changed it up. Honestly, I just decided I've been gifted the last name Aussem. If I don't put my name in the podcast, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? So I got married at the start of the year and I'm now Gwen Aussem. So if I don't think my name is going to change for a while, hopefully for a lifetime. God, that sounds like a long time, but I do want to be awesome for life. And so anyway, what I'm saying is, had I put it out, 6 months ago, I would have had a whole different name and then would have had to rebrand the show and just trusting that this is the right time. So as you embark on a new week, I just want to share a couple of things to hopefully plant the seed. Procrastination is wisdom. So don't give yourself a hard time if you can't get all those things done on the list. I really think you got to give yourself grace and space to breathe. If you wake up one morning, you have no energy, nothing creative is happening. Do not force yourself to be a genius that day. I know we all have different lifestyles, showing up at work or being an entrepreneur or whatever and being at home. But if you can, just give yourself the grace to do those activities that don't require your best self. Treat yourself kindly. How can you hydrate more today? Go for a light walk. Get some sunshine on your face. Eat something that makes you feel happy, and that might be a kale salad. It might be a cupcake. We don't judge here. Can you say no more? That's a beautiful thing. Saying no and really creating more space on your calendar in order to allow in some of the things that your heart's desire that you really wanted to put out there. And something that I've really been working on is envisioning more on why I want something to happen. So putting out a successful course. more on the excitement and the joy that I'll feel when it's out and when I'm teaching versus all the, endless to-do list of actually creating it. Just focus more on the joy of it versus the, how am I going to get into that left brain work mode and make it happen? So that's my message for you today. I hope you take extremely good care of yourself. And I also encourage you, if you're not on my email list yet, join it, get into my world, and I would love to help you create an awesome life and build your online course-based business. So again, have an amazing week, and I will talk to you soon.